The alien Empress Zalia stared at the small human female standing before her throne, her 7 eyes narrowing with contempt. The human looked so fragile compared to the towering muscular Vexari warriors that surrounded her. Samantha Brown stood straight, her chin raised. Despite the heavy chains on her wrists, she was just a maintenance worker on the human colony ship. But now she was the only survivor after the Vexari attack. "You are nothing more than a worker drone." Zalia hissed, her voice like grinding metal. "How did you manage to destroy 3 of my best warships?" Samantha said nothing, her green eyes fixed on the Empress. "The Vexari Empire spans 50 star systems." Zalia continued, "Our warriors train from birth to fight. Our technology is centuries beyond yours, yet you, a single human female, managed to escape our ambush and lead my ships into the asteroid field." One of the alien guards nudged Samantha with her electro-spear, making her stumble forward. "Answer the Empress when she speaks to you," the guard growled. "I studied your ship designs," Samantha said simply. "I noticed a flaw in your engine cooling systems." The throne room fell silent. The Empress leaned forward, her silver skin reflecting the purple light of the chamber. "Impossible," Zalia whispered. "You are lying." Samantha shrugged. "All Vexari ships have the same basic design. I figured if I could get your ships to chase me through the high radiation belt of the asteroid field, your cooling systems would overheat and cause a chain reaction." General Kyla, the tallest of the alien warriors, stepped forward, her hand on her weapon. "She cannot be telling the truth." "Empress, she is a maintenance worker, not an engineer, actually. I was studying engineering before I took the colony job," Samantha explained. "I needed the money for my daughter back on Earth." Zalia rose from her throne, towering nearly 12 feet tall, her slender form moving with unnatural grace. She circled Samantha like a predator. "Humans are such curious creatures," the Empress said. "You appear weak, yet you adapt quickly. Your bodies are fragile, yet your minds are dangerous." "Weapons?" Samantha remained silent, watching as the Empress returned to her throne. "Take her to the mind extraction chamber," Zalia ordered. "We will learn what other secrets this human holds." 2 guards grabbed Samantha and began dragging her from the throne room. "Wait," Samantha called. "I have information about the human defense fleet." Zalia raised a clawed hand, and the guards stopped. "What information?" the Empress demanded. Samantha took a deep breath. "I can tell you their weaknesses, but I want something in return." The Empress laughed harshly. "You are in no position to negotiate." "Human, maybe not," Samantha said. "But if you extract my mind, you'll only get fragments. The human defense protocols are locked behind neural barriers. Only I can willingly release them." It was a lie, but Samantha had noticed how the aliens seemed to fear human mental abilities. Rumors of telepathy and mind control had spread through the alien ranks despite being completely false. General Kyla hissed with anger. "This is a trick, Empress," perhaps Zalia said. "But I am curious. What do you want?" "Human, my freedom," Samantha said. "And a ship to return to Earth." The Empress laughed again. "You think I would give you a ship after what you did to my warship's worth?" "A try," Samantha shrugged. "Then how about better conditions while I'm here? And no mind extraction." Zalia studied her for a long moment. "Very well," the Empress finally said. "You will be given quarters in the military section and serve as my personal advisor on human matters in exchange for your cooperation." Samantha nodded, hiding her relief. This would give her time to look for an escape route. The guards took her to a small but clean room in the military wing of the palace. It had a bed, a washing station, and a window that looked out over the alien city. Samantha sat on the edge of the bed and looked at her hands. They were scraped and bruised from fighting during the capture. She had been on the colony ship New Horizon working as a maintenance technician. When the Vexari attacked, most of the crew had died in the initial assault. Samantha had managed to get to an escape pod, but was pursued by 3 Vexari warships. She remembered the terror as she piloted the small craft through the asteroid field using everything she had learned from studying alien technology. Now here, she was prisoner to an empress of a vast alien empire with only her wits to keep her alive. A soft chime announced someone at her door before it slid open, revealing a Vexari female smaller than the warriors. Samantha had seen. "I am Tila," the alien said in broken human language. "I bring food and clothes." Samantha thanked her and took the offered Items: a simple tunic and pants made from a soft metallic fabric and a tray of unfamiliar foods. The Empress requests your presence at the Strategic Council tomorrow. Tila said, prepare yourself with rest. After Tila left, Samantha examined the room. Looking for surveillance devices, she found three, one by the door, one near the bed and one in the washing area. She was being watched. She ate the strange food, finding it oddly sweet and spicy. At the same time, then washed and changed into the alien clothes. They fit surprisingly well as she lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Samantha thought of her daughter Lily back on Earth. She had promised to return with enough money to pay for Lily's education. Now she wondered if she would ever see Earth again. Sleep came fitfully, filled with dreams of asteroid fields and burning ships. Morning came, announced by the room's lighting gradually brightening. Tila returned with more food and instructions. The Empress waits in the war room. Tila said, follow me, Samantha. Followed the small alien through winding corridors, passing groups of tall Vexari warriors who stared at her with obvious distrust and curiosity. The war room was a vast chamber with a holographic display of star systems floating. In the center around it stood several Vexari military officers, including General Kyla. The Empress sat at the head of a long table. She gestured for Samantha to sit in a chair to her right. Today we discuss the human threat, Zalia announced specifically. Their defense capabilities around the colony world of Proxima B. Samantha listened carefully as the aliens discussed invasion plans, her mind racing to find a way to both appear helpful and protect human interests. The Empress turned to her human. Tell us what you know of the defenses at Proxima. B. Samantha hesitated, then decided on a strategy that might work. Tell enough truth to be believed, but hold back critical details. Proxima B has a standard orbital defense grid, she said. Automated defense, satellites, and a small fleet of patrol ships. General Kyla leaned forward. And what of the planetary shield system? Samantha kept her face neutral, trying not to show surprise. They knew about the shield. We only activate it when under direct threat. It requires too much power to maintain constantly. The Empress nodded. That matches our intelligence, she said to the others, then turned back to Samantha. What is the shield generator's weakness? Every system has a weakness. Samantha thought quickly. But she wouldn't reveal the actual vulnerability. Power fluctuations during solar storms can create gaps in coverage. Zalia seemed satisfied, ordering her generals to plan an attack during the next solar storm. As the meeting continued, Samantha realized she had gained a dangerous position, one where she might be forced to choose between appearing cooperative and betraying humanity. She would need all her cleverness to walk this line. Weeks passed and Samantha found herself walking a dangerous line between captive and advisor. She attended more strategic meetings, offering enough information to seem cooperative while subtly misleading the Vexari about human weaknesses. Her quarters had been upgraded to a larger suite, still within the military section. But with more comfort, she was allowed to move about certain areas of the palace with an escort, usually Tila, who had become something like a friend. One morning, General Kyla herself came to escort Samantha. The Empress wishes you to observe our training methods, the general said stiffly. Samantha followed Kyla to a vast training arena where dozens of Vexari warriors practiced combat drills. Their silver bodies moving with fluid grace despite their size. They use energy weapons mainly, Kyla explained, but we train extensively in hand-to-hand combat as well. Samantha watched, fascinated by their fighting style. It was similar to a mix of martial arts from Earth, but with adaptations for their alien physiology. What do you think of our methods? Kyla asked. Impressive, Samantha said honestly. But you rely too much on strength and reach. Kyla made a sound like grinding stones. What would you suggest? Humans have developed fighting techniques for smaller opponents against larger ones. Samantha explained, we use leverage and momentum rather than pure strength. Show me, Kyla demanded. Samantha hesitated, uncertain if this was wise. The general seemed to sense her concern. You will not be punished for demonstrating, she said. I am curious about human combat techniques. Reluctantly, Samantha agreed to demonstrate. She showed Kyla basic judo throws and aikido movements, explaining how to use an opponent's weight and momentum against them. After watching several demonstrations, Kyla asked Samantha to try the techniques on her. Samantha was surprised but agreed. Despite Kyla's greater height and strength, Samantha managed to throw her to the training mat. Using proper leverage, the general rose, looking more intrigued than angry. Teach me these techniques, Kyla said. Over the following days, Samantha began training with Kyla and a select group of Vexari warriors, teaching them human martial arts. In return, they taught her their fighting methods word spread through the palace about the human female who could throw warriors twice her size. Other officers began to attend the training sessions to observe. Samantha noticed a subtle shift in how the Vexari treated her. There was still suspicion, but also a growing respect. The Empress herself came to watch one day, standing silently at the edge of the training area. As Samantha demonstrated how to escape from various holds, "You have made quite an impression," Zelia said later, when they were alone in her private study. "I'm just sharing basic techniques," Samantha said modestly. The Empress tilted her head, studying Samantha with her multiple eyes. "No. You are changing how my warriors think. They begin to see that strength comes." In many forms, Samantha wasn't sure how to respond. Our empire has conquered many species. Zelia continued, "None have adapted as quickly as humans do. None have shown such resourcefulness. Is that why you attacked our colony ship?" Samantha asked. "Because you fear us." Zelia made a gesture Samantha had learned was the equivalent of a shrug. "We attack because that is what we have always done. We expand, we conquer. It is our way." "Perhaps there are other ways," Samantha suggested, careful not to sound challenging. Empress considered this. Perhaps she agreed there is wisdom in learning new methods. That evening, as Samantha returned to her quarters, she found Tila waiting with unusual news. "You are invited to the Imperial Feast tonight," Tila said excitedly. "This is a great honor. No outsider has ever attended." Samantha was given ceremonial robes to wear, silver and blue, the colors of the Imperial House, when she entered the Great Hall. Conversation stopped as all eyes turned to her. The Empress gestured for Samantha to sit at her table, an unprecedented honor that caused murmurs among the gathered nobles and military leaders. During the feast, Zelia formally introduced Samantha to the assembly. "This human has shown unusual wisdom and skill," the Empress announced. "She will now serve as my special advisor on human affairs." The announcement was met with mixed reactions. Some seemed intrigued, others clearly disapproved. Most notably, an older Vexari, who Samantha learned was Drac, the Empress's chief counselor. After the feast, Drac approached Samantha, his ancient face twisted with distrust. "You may have fooled the Empress, human, but I see through your deception," he hissed. Samantha met his gaze calmly. "I have no deception, Counselor. I am merely trying to survive." Drac leaned closer, his breath hot on her face. "The Empress grows soft, allowing an enemy to walk freely among us. I will be watching you." As the weeks passed, Samantha's influence grew. She advised the Empress not only on human matters but on diplomatic approaches to other species within the Empire. Many of the younger officers, particularly those who trained with her, began adopting her suggestions. Viewing conflict from new perspectives, General Kyla became her strongest ally, defending Samantha against accusations from Drac and his supporters. One night, Kyla came to Samantha's quarters, her usual stoic demeanor replaced with visible concern. "Drac plots against you. The general said he has convinced several high commanders that you are manipulating the Empress." "What does he plan to do?" Samantha asked. "He will demand a mind extraction at the next council meeting," Kyla explained. Samantha felt a chill run through her body. She had heard stories of the mind extraction process, how it left victims as empty shells. "What should I do?" she asked. Kyla hesitated, then said, "I can help you escape." Samantha was shocked. "Why would you do that?" The general seemed uncomfortable with the question. "You have shown me new ways of thinking." She finally said, "Ways that could benefit our people. I believe the Empress sees this." To that night, they planned Samantha's escape. Kyla would secure a small scout ship and create a diversion, allowing Samantha to reach the launch bay. As dawn approached, Samantha prepared to leave, gathering the few possessions she had acquired during her captivity. Just as she was about to meet Kyla at the arranged location, her door slid open, revealing Empress Zelia herself, going somewhere. The Empress asked. Samantha froze, uncertain what to say. Zelia stepped into the room, her tall form blocking the exit. "I have been watching you closely these past months," she said. "You have changed things here in ways you may not even realize." "I don't understand," Samantha said. "My warriors question traditional methods." The Empress explained, my strategists consider new approaches. Even I find myself contemplating alternatives to conquest. Samantha remained silent. Drac believes you are a threat. The Empress continued, and perhaps you are, but not in the way he imagines. You threaten our stagnation, our rigid thinking. What will you do with me? Samantha asked. Xalia moved closer. I will not allow your mind to be extracted, nor will I allow you to escape. Samantha felt her hopes sink. Instead, the Empress said, I am appointing you as official human ambassador to the Vexari Empire with all the protection that position entails. Samantha stared at the Empress in shock. Ambassadores, Xalia confirmed. It is time for our peoples to communicate properly, not through conquest. Believe you are the right person to begin this process. But Drac and the others, Samantha began, will accept my decision or face consequences, the Empress said firmly. Some already support this new direction. Kyla among them. The Empress extended her hand. In a very human gesture of agreement, do you accept this position? Samantha looked at the offered hand, considering all that had happened since her capture, and all that might yet be possible. I accept, she said, taking the Empress's hand. The announcement of Samantha's new position sent shockwaves through the Imperial Palace. Drac and his supporters openly protested, while others, particularly the younger officers, welcomed the change. Samantha was given new quarters in the diplomatic wing and official robes marking her status. She was no longer a prisoner, but still far from free. Her first task as ambassador was to establish communication protocols with Earth, something the Empress insisted must happen before any formal negotiations could begin. We must ensure your people do not react with panic or aggression when they learn of your situation. Xalia explained. Samantha worked with Vexari communication experts to modify their systems to be compatible with human technology. She also prepared messages explaining her circumstances and the potential for peaceful contact during this time. The political situation within the Empire grew tense. Samantha learned that several outer colonies were showing signs of unrest. Drac used this to attack her position, claiming that showing weakness by appointing a human ambassador had emboldened rebels in a tense council meeting. He confronted the Empress directly. While you play diplomat with this human, our empire crumbles, he shouted. We should be crushing these rebellions, not coddling our enemies. Xalia remained calm. The traditional approach of conquest and subjugation has reached its limits. Counselor, she replied, the outer colonies rebel because they see no other option. Samantha listened carefully. Noting the division among the council members, some nodded in agreement with the Empress. Others clearly sided with Drake. After the meeting, Kyla approached Samantha with concern. The situation worsens, she said quietly. Reports indicate coordinated uprisings on 3 outer worlds. Is it that serious? Samantha asked. Kyla nodded, more serious than the Empress admits publicly. These are not isolated incidents. Samantha wondered if human involvement was possible. Could Earth forces be supporting these rebellions as a way to weaken the Vexari before a counterattack? She requested access to intelligence reports about the rebellions, a bold move that Drac strongly opposed, but the Empress granted her request. For several days, Samantha studied the reports, looking for patterns. Something about the rebellion troubled her. The tactics seemed familiar, yet not quite human. During a strategic meeting about these uprisings, Samantha noticed something on the star charts, a pattern that the aliens had missed. The Empress was discussing crushing the rebels when Samantha spoke up. These aren't random uprisings, she said, pointing to the chart. They're coordinated. Look at the timing and locations. Xalia studied the pattern, her 7 eyes widening. You are correct, she said, turning to Samantha. This appears to be a carefully planned revolution. It gets worse. Samantha said, if they take these 3 systems, they cut off your main supply routes to the central planets. The war room erupted in urgent discussions. As the generals realized the danger Samantha had identified, how did you see this when our strategist did not? Xalia asked later in her private chambers. Humans are good at recognizing patterns, Samantha explained, but also I noticed something else about these rebellions. What is that? The Empress asked. They don't match human tactics, she said. Nor do they match the typical patterns of your other subject species. This feels like something else. Xalia seemed troubled by this observation. There has been a rumor of an outside influence, a species from beyond our borders, a new alien threat. Samantha asked, perhaps the Empress said, or perhaps an old enemy. Returning over the next few days, more reports arrived, confirming Samantha's analysis. The rebellions were indeed cutting off critical supply lines and isolating Imperial forces. The Empress called a special council meeting. To address the crisis, we face a coordinated threat. She announced one that may be orchestrated by forces outside our empire. Drac scoffed. What evidence do you have of this? The Empress gestured to Samantha, who presented her analysis using the holographic display to show the pattern of attacks. Evan Drac could not deny the evidence. The rebellions were too perfectly synchronized, too strategically placed to be coincidental. We must send our fleet to crush these rebellions immediately. Drac insisted. If you divide your forces, you play into their hands. Samantha countered. They want you to spread your ships. Then, what would you suggest? Human General Kyla asked with genuine interest. Consolidate your forces. Samantha said, protect the core supply routes and send small stealth teams to investigate who is really behind these uprisings. The council debated her suggestion fiercely, but eventually the Empress sided with Samantha. The fleet would remain largely intact while special forces would be deployed to gather intelligence. As the meeting concluded, Drac approached Samantha, his ancient face twisted with fury. If your strategy fails, human, the consequences will fall on you, he threatened. Samantha met his gaze steadily. I understand the stakes, Counselor. In the following weeks, Samantha's status among the Vexari continued to evolve. Those who had trained with her in combat now sought her strategic insights as well. Kyla, who had been appointed to lead one of the Special Forces teams, came to Samantha for advice before departing. What should I look for? She asked. Evidence of outside technology. Samantha suggested communication. Devices, weapons, anything that doesn't match known rebel resources. The general nodded, then hesitated before asking a more personal question. Do you believe our peoples can truly find peace? Samantha considered the question carefully. I believe it's possible, she said, but it will require change on both sides. Kyla seemed satisfied with this answer before she left. She clasped Samantha's arm in the Vexari warrior gesture of respect. I will return with answers, she promised. While Kyla and the other teams were deployed, Samantha continued working on communication protocols with Earth. She also spent time learning more about Vexari culture and history. She discovered that despite their warlike reputation, the Vexari had once been known for art and philosophy. Their expansion into an empire of conquest had come after a period of resource scarcity and internal conflict. Samantha shared these findings with the Empress, suggesting that a return to these cultural roots might help address the discontent in the outer colonies. Xalia seemed intrigued by this perspective. You see potential in us that we have forgotten? She said. After 2 weeks, the Special Forces teams began returning with troubling news. They had found evidence of advanced technology being supplied to the rebels, technology that matched no known species in or near Vexari space. Kyla brought back a communication device captured from rebel leaders. Our technicians cannot identify its origin, she explained. The device was brought to the Imperial laboratory where Samantha was permitted to examine it. This isn't human technology, she confirmed, but something about its design principles feels familiar. She requested access to the Imperial archives, searching through records of species the Vexari had encountered in their long history. Deep in the archives, she found what she was looking for: records of an ancient species called the Mavorians, who had disappeared centuries ago after a brief conflict with the early Vexari Empire. According to the records, the Mavorians had retreated beyond known space, vowing to return when the Empire was vulnerable. Samantha brought this information to the Empress, who called an emergency council meeting. If the Mavorians have returned, then we face a greater threat than mere rebellion, Salia announced, showing the ancient records alongside the new evidence. Even Drac seemed shaken by this revelation. The old stories speak of their advanced technology and their promise of vengeance, he said. What do we do now? General Kyla asked, looking to both the Empress and, surprisingly, to Samantha. Before either could answer, an urgent message arrived. Imperial sensors had detected a fleet of unknown vessels approaching from beyond the outer rim. The Mavorians had returned. The Imperial Palace transformed into a war center. As reports of the approaching Mavorian fleet flooded in, their ships were unlike anything the Vexari had seen before. Dark curved vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Samantha watched as the Empress and her generals hastily formed defense plan. Our fleet is still consolidated as you suggested, Zalia said to Samantha. That may have saved us from immediate defeat. Drac, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke. We should never have listened to the human, he hissed. This is a human trick to weaken us before their own attack. Samantha faced him directly. Counselor, if humans were behind this, I would not have identified the pattern, nor found the connection to the Mavorians in your own archives. Several generals nodded in agreement, including Kyla, who added the human has proven her loyalty by warning us of threats, not creating them. The Empress raised her hand, silencing the argument we face. Extinction. She said we cannot afford division now. Reports indicated that the Mavorian fleet had already engaged Vexari forces at the edge of Imperial space. Their technology was devastatingly effective against the Vexari defenses. Communications from the battle were fragmented, but the outcome was clear. The Imperial forces were being systematically destroyed. We need a new strategy, Zalia said, turning to her generals. What options remain? The generals proposed various approaches, from full retreat to sacrificing the outer colonies to protect the core worlds. None seemed likely to succeed against the superior Mavorian technology. Samantha listened carefully, studying the holographic display of the approaching enemy fleet. Something about their formation triggered a memory. May I speak? She asked. The Empress nodded. I noticed something about their ship formation, Samantha said. They move in perfect synchronization, almost like what General Kyla prompted. Like automated systems, Samantha finished, or ships controlled by a central intelligence rather than individual captains. The room fell silent as the implication sank in. If they're centrally controlled, Samantha continued, then disrupting that control signal could disable their entire fleet. Is such a thing possible? Zalia asked. Samantha looked to the Vexari communications experts, who reluctantly admitted it might be possible, but they would need to study the Mavorian signal patterns. We would need a sample of their communications, Kyla said, but any ship close enough to record such data would be destroyed. Not necessarily, Samantha countered. What about the small scout ships, the ones with stealth technology? Kyla shook her head. The scouts are fast and stealthy, but have minimal defenses. We don't need defenses, Samantha explained. Just speed and stealth. Get close enough to record their communication patterns, then retreat before being detected. It would be a suicide mission, Drac said. I volunteer, Samantha stated firmly. The room erupted in protests, the loudest from Kyla, and surprisingly from Drac. You are too valuable to risk, Drac admitted grudgingly. Your strategic insights may be our only advantage. Samantha was touched by the concern, but stood firm. My smaller size makes me better suited to pilot the scout ship. It's designed for Vexari, but the controls can be modified. The Empress studied Samantha with her multiple eyes. You understand the risk? Samantha nodded. I do very well, Zalia said. If you are determined, then we will prepare a ship immediately. While engineers modified a scout ship for Samantha, Kyla trained her intensively on evasive maneuvers and the ship's complex controls. Do not engage under any circumstances, Kyla instructed. Your only mission is to record data and return. I understand, Samantha assured her. The night before the mission, Tila came to Samantha's quarters with a small object of Vexari charm for protection. Keep this close, she said. Our ancestors will watch over you when the time came to depart. Samantha was surprised to find both the Empress and Drac in the launch bay. Your courage honors us, the Empress said. Drac stepped forward, looking uncomfortable. I have misjudged you, human, he admitted. Your willingness to sacrifice for our people shows a nobility I did not expect. Samantha nodded in acknowledgement, then boarded the small scout ship. Its interior, barely large enough for her. Despite being designed for the larger Vexarias, the ship launched from the Imperial capital. Samantha felt a mixture of fear and determination. She had come to care for many among the Vexari, especially Kyla and Tila. Even the Empress had shown unexpected depth and capacity for change. The scout ship accelerated to maximum speed, heading toward the coordinates where the Mavorian fleet had last been detected. The journey would take several hours, giving Samantha time to review the mission parameters and prepare the sensing equipment. As she traveled deeper into space, Samantha thought about Earth and her daughter Lily. What would happen if she failed? Would the Mavorians turn their attention to human worlds after conquering the Vexari Such? Thoughts strengthened her resolve. She would not fail. The scout ship sensors detected the Mavorian fleet before visual confirmation their energy, signatures creating distinctive patterns against the darkness of space. Samantha activated the stealth systems and approached cautiously. The enemy ships were even more impressive up close, their dark hulls seeming to bend space around them. She positioned her ship at the very edge of detection range and activated the recording equipment, capturing the complex signals passing between the Mavorian vessels. Everything was going according to plan until a sudden shift in the enemy formation brought several ships much closer to her position. The scout ship's alarm chimed softly. Warning of potential detection, Samantha had to make a choice: retreat now with partial data, or remain longer to gather more complete information at greater risk. She chose to stay. Just a little longer. Seconds stretched into minutes as the recording equipment continued gathering data. Suddenly, multiple alarms blared. The Mavorians had detected her. Samantha immediately engaged emergency protocols, sending the ship into a series of pre-programmed evasive maneuvers while energy weapons fire erupted around her. The scout ship shuddered as a glancing blow struck its hull systems, flickered, but held. Samantha pushed the engines beyond safety limits, racing away from the pursuing Mavorian vessels. A second hit damaged the propulsion system, reducing her speed. The Mavorians were gaining. In desperation, Samantha directed the ship toward a nearby asteroid field, hoping the larger Mavorian vessels would be less maneuverable among the floating rocks. She weaved through the asteroids, her smaller ship barely squeezing through gaps the enemy could not follow. But they continued firing their energy weapons, shattering asteroids and creating deadly shrapnel, particularly large. Explosions sent fragments slamming into the scout ship, tearing through the hull. Samantha felt the cold rush of escaping air, and the warning lights indicated catastrophic damage. With systems failing around her, Samantha activated the emergency beacon and transmission protocol, sending the recorded data toward Vexari space. Then strapped herself into the escape pod as the scout ship broke apart around her. The pod ejected, tumbling through space away from the battlefield. Samantha lost consciousness. As acceleration forces overwhelmed her, she awoke to the sound of Vexari voices and the familiar hum of Imperial technology, opening her eyes to find herself in the medical bay of a Vexari cruiser. Kyla stood nearby, her usually stoic face showing relief. "You survived," she said. "Did the data transmit?" Samantha asked weakly. Kyla nodded. "The information you gathered is already being analyzed. Our technicians believe they can develop a countersignal." Samantha closed her eyes in relief. Her mission had succeeded. When she was strong enough to leave the medical bay, Samantha was brought to the Imperial flagship where the Empress waited. "Your data has given us hope. Zalia said our scientists have developed a disruption signal that should disable the Mavorian fleet. Will it work?" Samantha asked. "We will soon find out," the Empress replied. "The Mavorians approach our core systems. We must deploy the countermeasure within hours." The plan was daring. The Imperial fleet would engage the Mavorians in conventional battle, while specialized ships positioned themselves at strategic points around the enemy formation. Once in position, they would simultaneously activate the disruption signal. If successful, the Mavorian ships would lose central control, becoming vulnerable to conventional attacks. If it failed, the Vexari Empire would fall as the battle approached. Samantha was surprised when the Empress asked her to join the command staff on the flagship bridge. "I want you here when we deploy your strategy," Zalia explained. The massive view screens showed the Imperial fleet moving into position as the dark shapes of Mavorian vessels appeared on the sensor slet. "Us hope your theory is correct," Drax said to Samantha, his tone now respectful rather than accusatory. The battle began with a furious exchange of weapons fire, the Vexari ships taking heavy damage, but maintaining formation as the specialized signal ships moved into position. On the Empress's command, the disruption signal was activated. Vermi. A terrible moment. Nothing happened. The Mavorian ships continued their perfect coordinated assault. Then suddenly their formation broke. Ships began drifting aimlessly or firing at random targets. "It works," Kyla shouted. "The signal is disrupting their control systems." The Imperial fleet pressed the advantage, targeting the now vulnerable enemy vessels one by one. The Mavorians began to fall as the battle turned in their favor. The Empress turned to Samantha with all 7 eyes gleaming your insight. Has saved our empire. The victory over the Mavorian fleet changed everything for the Vexari Empire. And for Samantha, what had begun as a desperate gamble had become a turning point in galactic history. In the days following the battle, Samantha was hailed as a hero among the Vexari, the Imperial media broadcasting the story of the human who had saved the Empire from extinction. Even Drac publicly acknowledged her contribution, though he still watched her with caution. The Empress called Samantha to her private chambers for a discussion that would shape the future of both their species. What you have done for us cannot be measured, Zalia said. Your courage and insight have earned you a place in Vexari history. Samantha nodded, accepting the praise, but her thoughts had turned toward home. I want to return to Earth, she said, to establish formal relations between our peoples. The Empress studied her for a long moment. I have been considering this. She admitted, the Mavorian threat is diminished, but not eliminated. They will return with new strategies, and when they do, both our species may be targeted. A formal alliance. Samantha suggested more than that. Zalia said, I propose a complete partnership sharing of technology, cultural exchange, mutual defense. Samantha was stunned by the scope of the proposal. Such an arrangement would fundamentally change human society. The Vexari were centuries ahead in some technologies. What of your tradition of conquest? She asked carefully. The Empress made a dismissive gesture. Traditions can change when they no longer serve us. The old ways led us to stagnation and vulnerability. Your human adaptability, your creativity. These are strengths we need. What about the other species in your empire? Samantha asked, would they be included in this new arrangement? Of course, Zalia said, they too have suffered under our rigid hierarchy. It is time for the empire to evolve. Over the following weeks, Samantha worked with Imperial diplomats to draft a formal proposal for an alliance between Earth and the Vexari Empire. The document outlined technology sharing, defense agreements, and cultural exchange programs. Kyla, who had been promoted to High General after the battle, became a key supporter of the initiative. I have assigned Kyla to accompany you to Earth as our official representative. Zalia informed Samantha, she understands your ways better than most, and has earned the respect of our military. Tila would also join the delegation as a cultural attaché along with several scientists and diplomats. Preparations for the journey to Earth consumed Samantha's days. She worked tirelessly to ensure the first contact would proceed smoothly without causing panic among humans. The Vexari provided a diplomatic vessel reconfigured for the mission, sleek and impressive, yet designed to appear non-threatening. Its weapon systems concealed behind smooth silver panels. Before their departure, the Empress held a formal ceremony officially appointing Samantha as ambassador plenipotentiary, with full authority to negotiate on behalf of the Vexari Empires. Samantha stood before the assembled imperial court. Wearing the silver and blue robes of her office, she reflected on the incredible journey that had brought her to this moment, from prisoner to ambassador, from enemy to savior. The diplomatic vessel departed with minimal fanfare. A small fleet of Vexari warships would follow at a distance, ready to assist if needed, but remaining outside Earth detection range to avoid misunderstandings. During the journey, Samantha spent hours training the delegation on human customs and social norms, while they in turn taught her more about Vexari history and culture. Kyla proved an eager student of human ways, though some concepts remained puzzling to her. I do not understand why humans place such importance on individual choice, she said during one of their discussions. Surely the needs of the community should always take precedence. Samantha smiled. Humans believe that individual freedom leads to greater innovation and happiness, she explained. When people are free to follow their own paths, they often contribute more to society. The general considered this. Perhaps this explains your adaptability. She conceded as they approached the Sol system. Samantha felt a mixture of excitement and anxiety. She had been away from Earth for nearly a year. Her daughter Lily would be 12 now. How much had she missed? How would Earth respond to the arrival of an alien delegation? They transmitted the prepared message to Earth authorities, identifying themselves and requesting permission to approach. The response was cautious, but not hostile. Earth governments had agreed to receive the delegation at the United Earth headquarters in Geneva. Samantha stood, On the bridge, as the beautiful blue planet came into view, tears forming in her eyes, she was home. Kyla joined her at the viewport. "Your world is very blue," she observed. "Much water." Samantha nodded, feeling unexpectedly protective of her planet and its fragile beauty. The diplomatic vessel was escorted by Earth defense ships as it entered orbit. News of their arrival had spread globally, creating a mixture of fear, excitement, and speculation. Special arrangements had been made for the landing international. Security forces had established a secure zone around the landing site, while world leaders gathered to witness the historic moment as the ship descended toward Geneva. Samantha felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. The future relationship between humans and Vexari would be shaped by what happened in the coming days. The landing was smooth and precise, the vessel touching down exactly at the designated coordinates. Samantha took a deep breath as the main hatch prepared to open. "Are you ready?" Kyla asked, standing tall in her ceremonial armoras. "Ready as I'll ever be," Samantha replied. They walked down the ramp side by side, the human ambassador and the Vexari general, followed by the rest of the delegation behind them. The impressive vessel gleamed in the sunlight. A group of human officials waited at the bottom of the ramp among them. Samantha recognized the Secretary General of the United Earth Council. Beside the officials, standing with a group of families, was a young girl. With Samantha's green eyes, Samantha maintained her composure, though her heart leapt at the sight of her daughter. Protocol demanded she complete the formal introduction before personal reunions. "Welcome to Earth," Samantha said formally to the assembled human leaders. "I present High General Kyla, representative of Her Imperial Majesty, Empress Zalia, of the Vexari Empire." The Secretary General stepped forward. "We welcome the representatives of the Vexari Empire to Earth in peace," Kyla performed. The formal Vexari greeting then addressed the crowd, her voice translated by the devices they had brought. "The Vexari Empire extends its hand in friendship to the people of Earth," she announced. "We come seeking alliance, not conquest." After the initial formalities were complete, Samantha was finally able to embrace her daughter, holding her tightly as photographers captured the emotional moment. "I missed you so much," Lily whispered. "I missed you too," Samantha said, her voice breaking. "I have so much to tell you." The diplomatic talks began the following day with Samantha mediating between the two sides, explaining Vexari concepts to humans and human concerns to the Vexari. Progress was slow but steady, the initial fear giving way to cautious optimism. As the benefits of alliance became clear in private meetings, Samantha shared her experiences with Earth leaders, explaining how the Vexari had changed and why the alliance was not only safe but necessary. "The Mavorians will return," she warned, "and when they do, they may target Earth as well as the Vexari Empire. Only together can we hope to stand against them." After 2 weeks of negotiations, a preliminary agreement was reached. Earth would establish formal diplomatic relations with the Vexari Empire, beginning with technology exchange in medical and environmental fields. Military cooperation would come later after trust had been established. The signing ceremony was broadcast globally, Samantha standing proudly between the Secretary General and Kyla as the documents were finalized that evening at a reception. Celebrating the historic agreement, Kyla approached Samantha with an unusual request. "The Empress has asked me to remain on Earth as permanent ambassador. She said she believes I have learned enough of human ways to represent our interests." Samantha was surprised but pleased. "I would be honored to continue working with you." Kyla made the Vexari gesture of respect. "You have changed us, Samantha Brown, in ways that will echo through generations." As the reception continued, Samantha stood by a window looking out at the lights of Geneva with Lily beside her. "Are you staying on Earth now?" Lily asked. "Yes," Samantha assured her, squeezing her daughter's hand. "I'll be working with the Vexari embassy, but I'll be home." Across the room, Tila was enthusiastically explaining Vexari art to a group of fascinated humans, while nearby Drac, who had surprisingly joined the delegation, was engaged in serious discussion with Earth scientists general. Kyla joined Samantha and Lily by the window. "Your people adapt quickly," she observed. "Much like you, we have that in common," Samantha replied, looking at the mixed groups of humans and Vexari throughout the room. "The ability to change," Kyla nodded. "This is just the beginning," she said. "The stars will remember your name, Samantha Brown, the human who taught an empire how to evolve." Samantha smiled as she looked up at the night sky visible through the window. Somewhere up there, the Empress was receiving news of their success and throughout the galaxy. Both species were entering a new era of cooperation and discovery, all because one ordinary human had shown extraordinary courage, adaptability, and wisdom, proving that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in conquest but in connection.